Hey guys, it's Chaos Chrono back with more deck openings. We've got our Dark Tidings decks in now, and I've opened two so far. I haven't reviewed them, so I figured I'd do that on this video. So the unpackaging is not going to happen for those two decks, but yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. New set dropped, everybody's posting about it, so let's get started and see what we got today. So the first deck I opened was this one, Queerdrag, the Wretch of Tragedy. It's a Saurian, Untamed, and Logos deck. As you can see, I already repackaged it, but let's reopen this and see what was in this deck. Alright, starting with Untamed, we have Youngest Bear. It's a 2-power creature with Reap. You may reap with one of Young Bear's neighbors. Pretty adorable art there. Way of the Pixie. It's an upgrade. This creature gains Reap, gain 1 Amber. The Fittest, we've seen this card before. Amber whenever you play it. It's an action, give each friendly creature a +1 power counter. Myliope, it's a 4-power creature. While the tide is high, Myliope gains Skirmish. And before fight, enrage the creature Myliope fights, and each of that creature's neighbors. Infighting, it's an action. Each creature deals damage equal to its power to its right neighbor. So this is a double-sided effect. Deepwater Gruin, so Fuzzy Gruin, but now underwater. Again, 2 Amber pips, and it's a 5-power creature. With play Reap, if the tide is low, your opponent gains 1 Amber. Okay, so no guaranteed Amber for the opponent if you mess with the tide. Chelonia, it's a 2-power creature with Elusive. After you play another creature, if the tide is high, gain 1 Amber. So similar to Hunting Witch and the one from AOA. Spore Gorger, it's a 4-power creature with Reap. Give Spore Gorger a +1 power counter. You may remove each +1 power counter from Spore Gorger. For each power counter removed this way, deal 1 damage to each other creature. Fangtooth Cavern. Amber whenever you play it, it's an artifact. At the end of your turn, destroy the least powerful creature. Beach Day. It's an action. Amber whenever you play it, return a creature to its owner's hand. If the tide is high, gain 1 Amber. Ritual of Life. It's an artifact. Action. Destroy a friendly creature. If you do, return a different creature from a discard pile to your hand. Pestergrove. It's an artifact. Amber whenever you play it, each creature enters play enraged. That's it for Untamed. Moving on to Saurians, we have Reach Advantage. Amber whenever you play it, if the tide is high, a friendly creature captures 3 Amber. Otherwise, raise the tide. Ostracize. It's an action, lose 1 Amber. If you do, purge creature. Medicus Lacus. 5-power creature. While the tide is high, you may spend Amber on friendly creatures as if it were in your pool. So kind of a Senator Brachus kind of effect, but with tide. 2 Medicus Lacus. Decadence. Choose 1. Exalt, ready, and use a friendly creature, or move 1 Amber from a creature to another creature. Cornican Octavia, 5-power 1-armor creature, action, capture 2 Amber. Consul Primus, 3-power creature that enhances a capture icon into the deck, and Reap, move 1 Amber from a creature to another creature. Solarium, it's an artifact. Amber whenever you play it, each creature with the lowest power cannot reap. Dino You Didn't, it's an action. Amber whenever you play it, destroy an enemy creature with Amber on it. 2 copies of that. Charybdis, 7-power creature. Each enemy creature gains before a fight, lose 1 Amber. Nice, which means we have Scylla. Yep, 7-power creature. Each enemy creature gains Reap, deal 4 damage to this creature. That's it for Saurians. Moving on to Logos, we have Talmage Steelheart. It's a 3-power creature with play. Give Talmage Steelheart a +1 power counter for each card you have played this turn, including this card. Science. Play. For the remainder of the turn, after you play another action card, gain 1 Amber. Sweven. 2-power creature. With Reap, if the tide is high, draw 3 cards. Phase Shift is an action. You may play a non-logos card this turn. Information Exchange with the enhanced capture icon from Console Primus. Play Steal 1 Amber. If your opponent stole Amber from you the previous turn, steal 2 instead. 2 of those. Second one not enhanced. Hydro Cataloger. It's an artifact. Amber, whenever you play it. After a player raises the tide, they archive the top card of their deck. Final Analysis. It's an action. Destroy each creature. Each player draws a card for each creature they controlled that was destroyed this way. Armor Drone. The 1 power 3 armor creature. With Fight, steal 1 Amber. I think I would have liked Bat Drone more. Forgive or Forget. Play. Choose 1. Archive 2 cards of different types from your discard pile, or purge up to 2 cards from each discard pile. Data Forge. Amber, whenever you play it, it's an action. You may forge a key at +10 current cost, reduced by 1 Amber for each card in your hand. Memory Chip. It's an artifact. After you choose logos as your active house, archive a card. And that is it for this deck. We'll get this organized as usual and see what we got. Alright, starting with Amber Generation, we have 6 pips of Amber in Untamed, 4 pips in Saurians, and 2 pips in Logos, giving us a total of 12. We have Chelonia, Wave the Pixie, Decadence, Armor Drone, 2 copies of Information Exchange, and Science that can generate additional Amber. So conservatively, we'll rate it about a 20. For Amber Control, we only have 6 cards that directly impact your opponent's pool of Amber in some way, shape, or form, but they're all very situational, so I'm hard pressed to actually rate it at a full 6. I feel as though it would be closer to a 4. Now, Sorarian is also another card that prevents your opponent from reaping, so in that sense it can do a bit of Amber Control there in terms of their production line. So I'm going to rate this Amber Control at a 5. There is also no artifact control in this deck. Alright, for creature control, we have 8 cards that directly can remove creatures. And we have a few other supporting cards, whether it's potentially doing more damage, being a skirmish fighter, affecting what the opponent can do with their board, and a creature that can be bigger than you expect. So all in all, I will rate it at just a flat 8, which is decent, and there is a wipe involved. However, it does give everybody more cards, so it's not really an ideal, like Final Analysis is not an ideal wipe for a situation where you need to catch up. Alright, for speed, we have Youngest Bear and Untamed that helps with that, it's more efficiency. And 5 cards in Logos that can directly impact the speed through archiving or letting you play extra cards or drawing extra cards. Final Analysis I'm not really going to put up there, just because it does wipe your own board as well in order to get the draw power, which is a bit counterproductive and I think just mitigates the value. And we also have Pester Grove and Ritual of Life. Pester Grove is more of a negative overall. It slows everybody down as you will be forced to fight if there's a body on your opponent's battle line. Ritual of Life can allow you to bring back creatures that you need to help you generate, like Colonia, the Deepwater Gruin, things like that that can help you reach your end goal. So overall I'm going to rate the speed at a 6. Taking a look at the core parts of this deck, in Untamed we have Colonia, which if we treat it as a hunting witch, essentially we want to see more creatures that we can utilize to gain that additional Amber. We have 4 other creatures in Untamed that we can use towards that effect. Beach Day can be used to target your opponent's creatures or your own, and thus you can use that as replayability for something like Deepwater Gruin when the tide is high. All that gives the Untamed options to burst up on Amber, although there is no key cheat within Untamed. The Ritual of Life also helps this purpose. You can always destroy one of your unnecessary creatures in another house to bring back that Deepwater Gruin for additional 2 Amber gain, and if Colonia is on the field, then that's a 3rd Amber that you can get from that 1 creature. Medicus Lacus is an important card, just as Senator Brachus was in Worlds Collide. When the tide is high, you can use Amber on your friendly creatures. So looking at what cards help with that, we do have the Cornicon Octavia that captures 2, as well as Reach Advantage that can capture 3. I didn't see any taunt in this deck, So unfortunately, a lot of this amber is just going to be relatively easy to get back for your opponent. Not to mention, all they need to do is also raise the tide for themselves, lowering the tide for you, and then you won't be able to use the amber. So while it's a pretty nice part, and you can use that to force your opponent to use the tide effect, it doesn't necessarily change up the game that much in this deck particularly, because there's no taunt and no other forms of protection to keep those creatures with amber on them alive. We also have the Console Primus. So this one's nice and to match with another set of cards within the Saurian set in this deck, where the Dino you didn't, 2 copies of it, allow you to destroy creatures that have amber on it. So you can always use Console Primus to move amber onto your opponent's creature to destroy it. Bit of a convoluted way to do it, but the option is there. Moving on to logos, we have Dataforge, which all key cheats are usually a part of a deck's end game, so I put that up there. I also put up Science, as there's 5 other action cards that can help you generate amber on the same turn as Science. And we have the Hydro Cataloger and Memory Chip to help with archiving to increase the probability of hitting a bigger logos turn or a bigger untamed turn for that burst potential. P.I. Swevin is also very good. When he survives and stays on the field, that 3 card gain is pretty big. All in all, this deck has a couple of directions it can take in order to get to the end goal of forging 3 keys. However, that lack of amber control that we found earlier and relatively average numbers for everything else puts this deck kind of around average. There's one other component that I didn't discuss earlier, and that's disruption. And I think in general this set has a lot of disruption, despite not having the house dis in it. There's a lot of other cards in every house that disrupts the opponent more than anything else. The Tide mechanic will give you chains when you're forced to try to turn it to your side. And on that note, for this deck, it doesn't have a lot of cards that allow you to raise the tide. It's Reach Advantage. I think that's the only card that I remember reading that allows me to raise the tide for free without trying to use the Omni for the regular way to raise tide. So in that sense, this deck will probably perform a little weaker compared to other Dark Tidings sets. However, I haven't gotten a full grasp over just how common those cards are, and if there is a cap in terms of how many cards that affect the tide directly could be found in a single deck. As it stands right now, just from the 2 decks I've opened and a little bit of gameplay I've done, I do feel that the decks that will be the most powerful are the ones that will have more copies of cards that influence the tides, and ideally only influence the tides towards your benefit, because there are cards that will change the tide regardless of who has high tide. Anyway, that's everything for this deck. Overall, I'm gonna rate this deck at about a 67, 68. It was definitely interesting to play. This was the first deck I used to explore Dark Tidings. Looking over it again, I think it looks a bit stronger than what I felt through that gameplay. So yeah, 67, 68 is probably a good estimation of this power, just within my internal rubrics. With that being said, that's all for this deck. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. If you have any other suggestions, other things that you want me to discuss, feel free to leave that in the comment section below. I do plan on doing a few more streams, so stay tuned for any announcements about that. I'll put the link in the description below or at the bottom of the screen now. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one, and as always, be kind and happy forging.